When he was drafted, people were saying, oh, he's kind of a reach. In his first 6 years, he started every single game, made 5 Pro Bowls.
But I remember when Dallas was making these moves and drafting these offensive linemen in the first round, and fans here weren't too receptive to it. Travis Frederick came in, went to Pro Bowls, was an all-pro selection.
And look, he had a nice career. I think sometimes we consider these short, but playing in the trenches, I'm sure it felt plenty long enough.
Travis Frederick gave up 1 sack.
Hey, thanks for watching Numbskull News, and today we're talking about Travis Frederick. Unfortunately, the man retired a little bit early, although he was 29. I didn't even realize he was that old. But we're not going to talk about what the Cowboys should do in lieu of Travis Frederick's retirement. There's plenty of videos out there that cover that. What I'm going to do is do a little bit of a tribute video, and how I'm going to do that is break down the analysis of the 2013 draft, which always kind of pissed me off because of the big fat failing grade everyone gave the Dallas Cowboys for that draft in particular. Of course, hindsight being 2020, so that was nearly 7 years ago, and yeah, that draft was pretty much a flop. Travis Frederick is the last of the 2013 crop of draft picks that the Dallas Cowboys had, but everybody gave Dallas a failing grade back then because of the drafting of Travis Frederick.
Cowboys will surprise us here.
With the 31st pick in the 2013 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Travis Frederick, center,
Wow.
Wisconsin.
Wow, wow, wow. I have a third-round grade on Travis Frederick. This is a kid, a typical Wisconsin offensive lineman. He's tough, he takes great angles, he's strong, but I had a third-round grade on him, and I think it's a little bit of a reach at this point.
So your Mel Kipers of the world essentially hated that pick, thinking that, oh, this guy had a third or fourth round grade on him. Why the hell would the Cowboys trade down the 31st pick and then reach, essentially, way down in the draft for Travis Frederick? Now, keep in mind, I am a Mel Kiper fan. I think he's extremely good at his job. But let's analyze a little bit more of this first round of the 2013 draft, and you should be able to come to a reasonable conclusion. The Cowboys did exactly what they should have done drafting Travis Frederick. Now, the 2013 draft was a very strange draft. I mean, usually you have 3 quarterbacks going in the first round. In this draft, you only had 1 going to number 16 overall, E.J. Manuel going to Buffalo, which we all know how that crap turned out. But you didn't have a lot of edge rushers. There were a handful of receivers as usual. 1 tight end went. So the real depth of this draft was offensive line. I mean, the top 2 picks went over, number 1 and number 2 overall, were offensive tackles. That never happens. But however, Mel Kiper being very good at his job, he called that before the draft, right? First 2 picks were going to be offensive tackles, and he had 4 offensive line going in the top 10. Ended up 5 went in the top 10. 6 went in the top 11. Mel Kiper had 6 going in the top 12. So he was really close on a lot of those things, especially towards the top of the draft. Now, you could say, well, that's a lot easier, and it is. But he did call DeAndre Hopkins going to Houston. I think it was the 27th pick. So the man knows his shit. And that's why I'm a fan. However, there's a flaw here. Now, the line of demarcation for me in this draft with Mel Kiper is that 18th pick when Dallas traded down. And traded down with the 49ers, who ended up taking Eric Reed. Now, the next 2 picks were the Giants taking what was his name, Pugh? The hell kind of name is that? So the Giants took Justin Pugh, and Chicago took Kyle Long. Now, that pretty much wiped out all the guard depth. That's according to Mel Kiper's list of the top guards before the draft. And, of course, all the tackles had been wiped out. So what's left? Centers. And who was number 1 rated center on Mel Kiper's list? None other than Travis Frederick, of course. So at that point, right after both New York and Chicago reached for guys that Mel Kiper felt had a second or even a third round grade on them, and by the way, he didn't jump on those guys. They didn't get big fat F grades for those draft picks. Dallas trading down to the 31st pick, basically, a second round pick, essentially. Now Mel Kiper has a problem with Travis Frederick. Because why? Because he's a center, and centers aren't supposed to go in the first round? Is that it? Would he have felt better if they picked him in the second round? Probably. Would he have lasted? I doubt it. In the second round, only 1 offensive lineman went in the second round. 5 more went in the third. And by the way, the Raiders reached like a son of a bitch for a guy almost everybody had rated in the 4th or 5th round in the second round. So would Travis Frederick have lasted to the 15th overall pick in the second round? No. No, the top rated center in the whole damn draft is not going to last that long, especially when all of your offensive linemen have been wiped out of the first round. I mean, 8 guys before Travis Frederick were already picked. That's where I have a problem with the Mel Kipers of the world. They don't really adjust their rankings on the fly. Now, Mel Kiper thought a lot more defensive guys were going to get drafted in the first round. He thought Eddie Lacy was going to get drafted in the first round. And, of course, the general managers of the league disagreed with him. Like I said, the guy does a good job. And mostly, the Todd McShays, everyone else, they usually do a really, really good job of analyzing the draft and really giving you the top guys teams are looking at and are probably going to draft. And a lot of times they're right or close to being right. And usually guys will fall right around to where they think they should fall. But in this particular draft, you had a ton of offensive linemen go. 2 more offensive linemen than Mel Kiper thought were going to go in the first round before the Cowboys picked at 31. Seeing the teams coming up, because the whole time during the end of the first round, all Mel Kiper is doing is pushing for Eddie Lacy. Oh, there's Eddie Lacy. Why hadn't anyone taken Eddie Lacy? Blah, 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 blah. That's all he did. All right. Well, apparently no one wanted him in the first round. He didn't go to the bottom of the second. And by the way, Eddie Lacy was kind of a bust. And I think people were concerned about how many buffets and hamburgers this guy was going to throw back. What Mel Kiper should have done was really adjust, okay, where are these teams going? All right, because he had a lot of defensive players correct as well. Had some receivers correct, as I pointed out before. But for whatever reason, he overlooked the center position. All right, he was thinking guard, he was thinking tackle. At the time, guards were starting to get valued more by teams. Really, interior offensive linemen totally, including centers, since the 2013 draft especially, have really started getting drafted higher and getting paid more. Now, some of those things he did not take into account. And really, I don't know why he busted the balls of the Dallas Cowboys for drafting Frederick at number 31 when it kind of made sense. And at that point in the draft, when 2 extra offensive linemen, 2 extra guards have been picked at 19 and 20 overall, how do you blame the Dallas Cowboys for taking Mel Kiper's top-rated center at that point? Would he have felt better if they'd taken the 6th-rated guard or the 6th or 7th-rated tackle? Doesn't make any sense. You take the best at the position, and all the centers were still left on the board. So they took the top one. And the crazy thing is, I think if they had drafted Eddie Lacy at that point, Mel Kiper probably would have gave him a B+, or maybe even an A, for trading back and stealing Eddie Lacy at the bottom of the first round, which we all know would have been a big joke. And the only thing that made that whole draft worth a damn was actually getting Travis Frederick in the first. And I guarantee you, he wasn't getting past the Raiders in the second round. Guaranteed. If someone else didn't snatch up and grab him. So like I said, my only gripe is that Mel Kiper and all these other guys, they don't adjust well on the fly while the draft is going on. And all these guys said, hey, this draft was going to be unpredictable just because of the lack of talent in the quarterback position and the lack of talent in other skilled positions on the offensive side of the ball. All of the depth of the offensive line that draft had, they shouldn't have been surprised at such a big run that happened. And should have really adjusted the rankings as they went. Now, they didn't have to go through and relook at everything, but all Mel Kiper, he has a list. And you can see in front of him on draft night, he's got lists of all his positions, guys he thinks are the best. All right. So he has a list of centers sitting there too. I guess he just had a page, of running backs laid over the top of it and wasn't paying attention. If you were able to go back and redraft all the great players out of that draft, Travis Frederick would have been a top 15 draft pick at least, maybe a top 10. But, look, that's how it goes. A lot of times these guys, even though they're really good, Mel Kiper is outstanding at what he does. I really enjoy him. Sometimes you got to put up with some dumb bullshit. And look, he misses all the time. Mel Kiper does miss all the time. Everyone's going to. If you're trying to see the future and read people's minds, that's a tough ask of anybody, and that's what Mel Kiper's asked to do every year for ESPN. I never understood shitting on the Cowboys like the entire media did for the drafting of Travis Frederick. Now, if you want to shit on him for the rest of the draft, hey, I'll shit on him. I mean, Gavin Escobar in the second round, that was horrible. We got Joseph Randall, I think third or fourth round. Linebacker named Holloman. You remember him? I thought he had a pretty cool name. I was really pulling for Mr. Holloman, the Hollow Man. Brr. What do you give us, 2-3 years? And never started? It was bad, dude. That was a bad draft. C.W. Webb. Such a horrible draft. And unfortunately, our one shining light from that draft, he's gone. And it sucks. But hey, I'm thankful we had him for 7 years. Of course, he missed a year, but still. He's a great teammate, and God bless him in all his future endeavors. Anyway, that's all I got on this crap. I'll be back with some other crap later. Bye.